It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Because that's the bottom line. The Stone Cold Simpson.
Everybody dies.
Because I'm better than you, and you know it.
Woo!
Yes, man! What the Rock is cooking.
Now, welcome to Off the Mat with Alex Slows, Josh Silverberg, and Lyle Gillen.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Off the Mat, the only wrestling talk show here on WWSRN. Joining you again every Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m. right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Of course, your host, Josh Silverberg, and I have my tag team partners here with me at this time. I'll introduce them first. In sunny, I would imagine, sunny Florida, Mr. Alex Slows. What's going on, sir?
Nothing much, Josh. It's been an amazing week. Can't wait to get into all the topics that we have presented for you, the wrestling fans, on tonight's show. Stick with us the whole way through. It's going to be a special one, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. And, of course, our other host, Mr. Lyle Gillen, the one and only. What's happening there, boss man?
One and only Lyle Gillen is correct.
So pretty much we're going to get to our special guest in a few minutes. But before we do that, we want to basically talk to you. How can you listen to us every Tuesday, and how can you listen to all of our other wonderful shows that we have here on WWSRN? And it's quite simple. You go to the app. Well, how do you download the app? If you have an iPhone, you go to the Apple Store. You type in WWSRN. If you have an Android, you go to the Google Play Store. You type in Worldwide Sports. You click install or download, whatever it is. And right away, it's at the tip of your fingers, and it's all free. You got our free shows, free content, articles, clips. If you want to rewatch and re-listen to any of the shows you might have missed, you could do all that. That's an awesome thing and an awesome feature to have as well. You take all of that, like I said, and check us out. WorldwideSportsRadio.com is our official website. So pretty much really quick, we're going to get to our guests in a minute. From 8 to 9, I will be on. At between 9 and 9:30, I will not be here. I have to help my wife out with something. So I will be back on at 9:30. Alex and Lyle will take over. God help us all. But that's besides the point.
We can save the show.
Well, listen, I just have to speak the truth, don't I? We are breaking news. And also, you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope. We're on every single social media platform. It is all there for you. We want to get to our special guest because I know his time is very valuable, and we are honored to have him on tonight. He is one of the biggest wrestling insiders in the country. He is works for Spectrum 360 Sports. He is reported there, and he's the host of Living the Gimmick as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. John Alba. John, it's Josh, Lyle, and Alex. How are you doing, sir?
Man, I'll tell you, the pomp and circumstances. You don't see that in a lot of places. I guess that's the kind of respect that we dish out in the Northeast there. So I appreciate the love. As a Jersey guy myself, turned adopted Floridian, I appreciate the pomp and circumstances very much.
Hey, listen, man. First off, I'm going to say you work your tail off, and getting you on the show was. It's obvious. It's a challenge to get guests on for sure, but you are beyond busy. Everything you're doing, So it's an honor to have you on. I mean, look, Lyle missed an Islander Ranger game tonight. He couldn't miss.
I did.
He had to. He said, "I have to be on this one."
Well, I appreciate it, Lyle. Thank you. I mean, when I think of the New York Rangers, I think of Adam Henrique for some reason.
You're something else. You know that?
Keep in mind, I'm a sports reporter. I'm a sports reporter first before I cover anything else. So just keep that in mind here, okay?
I know why you're bringing up Adam Henrique's name, so we're off to a great start. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. I suppose you're going to say the next it's over, right, by Doc afterwards? You're going to do that quote, too, afterwards as well?
Listen, Doc Emmerich, as a broadcaster, Doc Emmerich is just one of the absolute best to ever do it. And regardless of whether he was calling something for your team or against your team, I miss hearing that guy call sports.
Absolutely.
No doubt about that.
Absolutely. I think he's the best play-by-play man in the business. That's my opinion on it. But first off, I want to get right into it. How are you doing? How is your family doing with everything with COVID going on? It seems like you don't have a chance to, to really catch your breath at times with all the work you're doing. But how are you guys doing? How's your family doing with COVID and all that stuff going on?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. My family's up in Jersey, and in Jersey, people have been a little more cautious than where I am here in Orlando, where I know, Alex, you're from Florida too, and things are just a little different in Florida. That's
for sure. That's
true.
And so, I've done all I can to say, hell, when I'm out telling stories and interviewing people, you just do your best you can to be careful. I double mask when I'm out there. I got my second vaccine shot on Sunday, so I'm feeling good about that. And just doing my best to stay healthy. I hope everyone out there listening and all of you guys have managed to stay safe as well.
Absolutely, we're doing the best we can for sure. I know I got my vaccination as well. Alex, I believe you did too, and Lyle, you're in the process of it as well.
I have one shot.
You got one shot already, so we're all just taking the initiative and trying to get back to some semblance of normalcy. But speaking of normalcy, it felt like we had some normalcy. 2 weeks ago? You were at WrestleMania. You were at WrestleMania 37, and we've had some very mixed emotions on what we thought of the show, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it. My question, John, to you is, we're sitting back watching it on television. We weren't there live, and this was the first big show. It's the first live big show that AEW's had some shows, but they have like 800 fans, 900 fans. I'm talking 25,000 plus that are at Raymond James Stadium. Like I said, we have the semblance of watching on TV. When you looked at it being there live, is it somewhat of a different perspective on what you thought of the show than maybe what we might have thought about it? Because, again, I think being there in person rather than watching it on TV is kind of a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, I think the ambiance and the aura is something you feel much more tangibly when you're there in person, obviously. It's weird because as someone who is a sportscaster, I've had the fortune of covering the NFL playoffs, the NBA playoffs. I've been to these big events, and you take it for granted just what these atmospheres are like. Like you take for granted what it's like to, and you guys are all sports fans, so you know what it's like to be in an arena or to be in a stadium with 20,000 people around you. So now that we haven't experienced that for a year plus, all of a sudden it feels so strange, right? Like it feels foreign, and you're almost like, is it okay for me to enjoy this? Like I'm not sure if it is or not. And I went to a couple of AEW's pay-per-views over at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, and I thought they did a really nice job with how they spaced people out and handled that. Raymond James Stadium, I don't know if it was quite 25,000 like they said it was, but it was definitely probably around 18, 19,000, and it's a lot of people with how things are right now. But for the most part, I felt like it was handled pretty well.
Did you like the show as a whole?
I liked night one more than I liked night two. I think that's kind of the general consensus among a lot of people. But I also think it's unfair to compare the nights because that is what this whole situation has created, where these talent, unfortunately, are going to have one night juxtaposed to the other. And I don't think that's really fair because ultimately it should be the same show. But how the card placement shakes out ultimately determines how you enjoy it. And I just felt like night two got off to a really flat start. And because of that, it underdelivered in some regards.
You go, Lyle.
Okay, so I want to bounce off of that a little bit. He brought up WrestleMania, and next month we have AEW's biggest pay-per-view. You have Double or Nothing. So I'm wondering, what have you heard about the Double or Nothing card coming up and what their current plans are?
I don't. So when I cover pro wrestling, I want to make this clear. Like, yes, I do hear things about story stuff and all that, but my priorities when covering pro wrestling are more the hard issues of pro wrestling. So the COVID outbreaks in Florida that we had during this, the involvement of the government in WWE, breaking down conceptually pro wrestling at its core. I work on the independent scene. I'm a manager on the independent scene, and I broadcast on the independent scene. So I'm very respectful of creative plans, and I can editorialize and add how I feel about certain creative plans. I don't like to spoil too much from what I know. I think the main thing that AEW is building right now, because they've got still 6 weeks until this pay-per-view. I think that blood and guts match is really what they're going to prioritize building to on May 5th, I believe it is, at Daly's Place. And it's really interesting when you bring up blood and guts, because I've spoken to a lot of individuals in AEW who felt like that March 14th, 2020 show that was going to be at the Prudential Center in Newark, they felt like that was going to be the show that blood and guts was going to be on that. They felt like that was going to be the show that was going to take AEW over the top and bring them to numbers that would be comparable to Monday Night Raw by the end of 2020. Obviously, we know that wasn't meant to be. So I'm really curious to see how they start to build that Double or Nothing card, one, but two, the effect that blood and guts has on the AEW viewership in the weeks to come and the weeks after that.
And if you look at what the ratings did last week, you can make an argument that after Blood and Guts, that show could make them comparable to the Monday Night Raw current viewership, which is, since the pandemic started, it's went down the toilet. But you look at where it's at, they could definitely get up there and become pretty close to that 1.7 to 1.9 range that they've been in.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them to do that because, listen, aside from last week, AEW has pretty much been floating around 700 to 900,000 more or less. So I had thought that Q3, quarter three would probably be a good place for them to get to just average around 1 million viewers. But then we saw what happened last week where they did 1.219 million. So I don't know how sustainable that is right now, because keep in mind, that's the immediate curiosity of the NXT audience that switched over, and it was very tangibly the NXT audience that switched over. Mm-hmm. So I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be able to sustain that right away. I'm curious if they will, because if they will and they continue to build on that, then yeah, I don't think it's too out of the realm of possibility to suggest by August, September, October, maybe we're talking about AEW being in that 1.6, 1.7 million range, where you are doing numbers similar to Monday Night Raw.
Alex, you're up, man.
So, since we're talking about ratings and ratings comparison, how do you compare the WWE Raw and SmackDown main roster ratings now versus 6 years ago? Because 6 years ago, they were almost at 7.08 million viewers on both shows. Does the WWE need fresh faces on their main roster, in your opinion? Because I feel like with the roster they have now, they're not pulling in as much audience. They're not getting a big enough audience with their storylines and how fans react to those storylines.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say about 6 years ago, it wasn't so much 7-8 million. I think it was probably a little closer to 3 million, 3.5 million, which is still substantially bigger than what we're looking at right now. When you're talking about 7 million, 8 million, you're more talking about like 2002, 2003, 2004, and coming off that heyday of the Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression Era. But as far as fresh faces, I'll get it out. I've got Invisalign in, but it screws with me a little bit. But but as far as the fresh faces go, for me, it's not so much fresh faces as it is consistent, protective booking. You need to find a way to protect those talent and book those talent in a way where their positives are enhanced and their weaknesses are hidden. Take a look at, I'm going to give you two examples here. Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre had protected booking where he was booked as a superstar and as a top guy who didn't lose. And when he did lose, it was because the odds were stacked against him. And he elevated himself up the card. You then, on the flip side of that, look at what happened with the Hurt Business, where Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, their positives were being accentuated and their weaknesses hidden by what MVP and Bobby Lashley were bringing to the table for them. And then you pull them back for seemingly no reason. And therefore, that talent that was starting to get over, even though Shelton Benjamin is 39 years old and has been exposed forever, those talent were starting to get over in this role. Now, all of a sudden, you're reeling back.
Yeah, you're decreasing their momentum pretty much.
Right. It's start-stop booking, and that is the problem. In my opinion, that WWE's main roster has had. Not so much a talent, because I think right now, in-ring talent-wise, it's some of the most talented individuals they've ever had.
Yeah.
I want to know, what is it that got you into this, professional wrestling itself? What is it that drew you to it? I mean, we all have stories about what got us interested in it. My mother takes full responsibility as to why I am the way I am today with wrestling, and my wife blames her for it. But what got you into wanting to, lock into wrestling? What is it like a wrestler that got you excited to watch every single night, whether it be Saturday night when I did Saturday night's main event or whatever it is?
October 5th, 1997, I saw this guy rip a door off a Hell in a Cell. His name was Kane, and I was hooked ever since then. Just happened to be watching at a neighbor's house. I was a young kid. I was 5 years old, something like that, and I was so enamored with it, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and I was hooked, and then The Rock just grabbed me, and from that point on, I had a brief period around 03, 04 where I kind of dabbled out, but then once Eddie passed, I was really back in and haven't looked back since. And then working the independent scene has just made my love grow even more and the appreciation that I have for pro wrestling.
That brings me to, I'll let God go in a second, but now you got me excited because I really want to ask this question because this has been brought up so many times. This wasn't even a question I was even going to ask you, but now you brought up Kane's name. Do you find the Undertaker Kane storyline, in your opinion, the greatest storyline ever told in wrestling history?
I don't know if it's the greatest storyline ever told, but it's certainly one of the most compelling, right? You couldn't look away as it unfolded, and there was genuine mystery to it. I think for me, where they fall flat is their matches weren't that good together. Like, they just, I love them. They are two of my all-time favorites, but their matches just weren't that good. They didn't have great chemistry together. Their first match was their best match.
The WrestleMania match, yeah.
Yeah, the first WrestleMania match they had, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I love them as a tag team. I love the whole arc. I mean, you can follow that whole arc over a span of 15 years, and it's super entertaining and great, but it's certainly one of the most compelling.
We're talking to Spectrum 360 Sports TV host star and, of course, the host of the Living the Gimmick, John Alba, thankfully joining us this evening. I'm going to let Lyle go and ask the next question. I know there's so much to uncover with him being there.
I got all the time in the world for you guys, so let's rock and roll here.
Okay, so
going on.
So you're big on wrestling Twitter, and you get it's a pretty horrible place. You get
cesspool.
Yeah, you get the great part of both worlds, the WWE fans and the AEW fans. And the WWE fans like to say the AEW fans are the worst in the world, and the WWE fans like to say the AEW fans are the worst in the world. Now, obviously, every fandom has their horrible part of their fan base. Now, in my opinion, the fan base that hates every other wrestling company that's not WWE, it will always be the worst. What do you think is the worst of the worst?
I think the worst fans are the fans that tribalize everything like what you just said. There's no reason to hate on other people for enjoying a certain product. You can be critical of a product and not like a product, or you can be critical of other fans for making excuses for a product. I think that is a fair assessment to make, but there's no reason to have all this tribalism. If you don't like something, don't watch it. Yep. If you do like something, watch it. That's great. Right now, even though the pro wrestling audience as a whole is lower than it's ever been, there are more quality places now to work than there's ever been. And that's good for everybody. That means if you like one style of wrestling, you can watch that. If you like another style of wrestling, you can watch that. If you work a style of wrestling, you can tailor yourself to work for companies like that. That's healthy for everybody. So wrestling fans on Twitter and Reddit, which I believe Reddit is even worse than Twitter, wrestling fans,
statement.
Yeah, wrestling fans that spend so much time getting so distraught over hating a product or anything like that, they're wasting time. And I just say, why not enjoy something? If you like baseball but don't like hockey, you're not going to hate tweet hockey. You know, it's just it's stupid, right? Like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
so it's the same concept for me when it comes to pro wrestling.
It's like the AEW botches account, which was clearly ran by someone who was a WWE fanboy, but yeah.
Yeah, I think tribalism is just unhealthy all the way around.
Go for it, Alex.
So my next question is about the WrestleMania 37 main event. Many wrestling fans believe Edge should have won the main event of WrestleMania this year. Do you agree, or do you think it's right to keep the Universal Championship momentum on Roman Reigns? Because Roman Reigns, I think he is definitely at a huge main event style level than he was compared to 1 year ago or 2 years ago. And Paul Heyman's the reason behind that, I believe. I think Paul Heyman has elevated and helped Roman Reigns in a way.
Yeah, Paul Heyman has certainly helped Roman Reigns a lot, but I think we're seeing the true genesis of Roman Reigns and what he's capable of doing. I think everyone knew that he had this in him. It was just he was not being booked and presented as such. And finally, once you got over that hump of being able to pull that trigger, we're seeing just how good he is. And the guy carries himself like a superstar. And he is a superstar. And I wish there were more fans present to see in person how good this guy has been. You can make the argument that Edge should have won. I wouldn't be against said argument, but I also know that Edge didn't need that championship. I know you could say, oh, well, Roman Reigns has been the top guy. He's been presented as this and this. He's never been presented in this way as the top guy.
No, he hasn't.
And the more you can further that and the more you can build to that, to one day, whenever that comes, whether it's next WrestleMania or it's in LA or whenever it comes, that somebody has been built to be a quality opponent to take that title off of him, where they will then be a beneficiary of that. That's the long-term payoff that you get out of it. Now, that's a big if, because WWE has to put the effort into book a babyface to reach that pinnacle, right? Like,
absolutely.
And right now, the problem on SmackDown is there are barely any babyface challengers that can be considered legitimate contenders for Roman Reigns' title. So you have to put the time into building talent where they can be conceivably strong challengers for Roman Reigns, and then eventually that one person, whoever that may be, gets the payoff.
And to piggyback off that, John, that was a great question by Alex, is the biggest thing that I took out of it, too, was it got a reaction, right? WrestleMania went off the air, they were booing. And that's what he's presented as a heel now. That's the point. You know, and we don't all agree with what Vince McMahon does nowadays, but his biggest thing in wrestling was he always wanted a reaction. And that's what the whole key of the whole thing is. Alex, you were going to say something.
Yeah, and I could tell during WrestleMania, I was watching the fans in the crowd. They were just spitting and shouting at Roman Reigns, just throwing whatever they had his way. And Roman Reigns, he feeds off that. He feeds off that energy, and he definitely did during that match.
Yeah, and I think that there were probably some people out there who were just like, I hated that because LOL Roman wins. That's how it always is. But it's a different kind of Roman Reigns we're seeing right now where
absolutely,
for me at least, it doesn't feel like LOL
it's not the
Roman
same.
Reigns.
No,
right?
it's not.
Exactly.
You said about, John, about baby faces on SmackDown not there being enough for Roman. I'm going to counter that back with you with Raw, because other than Drew, who is somebody that you see can really challenge Bobby on Monday Night Raw? And I love Drew McIntyre. I'm one of his biggest fans. These guys know it. I think he does still need to work on his mic skills, but his talent has gotten so much better than what it once was. But I look at the roster of Raw, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know, Drew's fighting him again, but after Drew, then what is it? Because they don't usually like to go WWE, go to the heel kind of match. And of course, you keep hearing they want Brock. Bobby wants this match with Brock Lesnar. This is what he wants. This has been his dream opponent. Who on Raw can even, after Drew, who is there that's left? Because I did another show with the Sports Hit List here on the network. I think somebody brought up Keith Lee to me, and I said, it's fine, but Keith Lee's been off TV for 4 or 5 months. Keith Lee's great and all, but he's been off TV for 5 months. You can't do Randy Orton versus Bobby Lashley. It's heel versus heel. Who do you see after McIntyre that can even challenge Lashley?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be real with you. I think right now Monday Night Raw is not a good television show at all. And it's week-to-week booking, and it's reflected, and it shows that. they have a serious lack of credible babyface challengers on that side. I 100% agree with you on that. It's interesting you make that comment about Drew's mic skills, because I've really felt like Drew has come a very long way, and I think
he has.
I think he's a very convincing babyface promo for me personally. But I don't know. I think Keith Lee was a guy. I put this out there the day before he was released, but I thought running Samoa Joe as a big babyface against Bobby Lashley would have been a great route to go.
Yeah.
But he obviously wasn't cleared, and then we know what happened. I'm not sure, because you call people up from NXT, but as we go full circle here and bring back to the first point I made, without protective booking, you can't establish baby faces. When Keith Lee was on the roster, it wasn't that he was getting beat every week, because he wasn't getting beat every week.
He beat Randy Orton his debut.
There were DQs every other week or non-finishes, and guys can't get over with start-stop booking like that.
Yeah.
So, I suspect that. I suspect if I had to go with my gut here, they either end up trying to go with Riddle after he beat Randy Orton this past week, or they eventually turn Randy Orton babyface, and he's the one going after Bobby Lashley.
I love Randy Orton, but Randy Orton has said this numerous time and time again. He does not like being a face. He loves being a heel.
And he's best when he's a heel. He's certainly best when he's a heel.
He's such and he brought it up on the Stone Sessions. What's it? The Stone Cold show that he did. He said, I'm such a like Austin even asked me, he goes, do you find it hard being a face heel every single? He goes, I'm such a natural heel. I thrive being off of that, because I always do the when I was the Legend Killer character, it was the most hated character in wrestling. And he's not an egotistical guy, Randy. He was dead honest, because it's true. When he was the Legend Killer and he would punt everybody in the head, everybody hated him. As a face, it just doesn't draw, I think, as much fandom, because I find it very boring. I don't think his heart is in it.
And to be real, as someone who's worked on the indies as both a babyface and a heel, being a heel is way more fun. So I would,
of course, you get all the.
I wouldn't want to do that. So yeah.
Lyle, go for it. You're probably going to ask about like the release of the superstars.
I want to get to out of everyone who was released, who do you think can make the biggest impact, and with what company?
There are a lot of them, John. Again, year 2.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, but yeah.
I mean, I think the obvious answer is Samoa Joe, right? But Samoa Joe, the reality is, say what you want, but he is injury prone, and we don't know what his current mental and physical state is. So I would think there's certainly a lot of money matches with him in AEW if Tony Khan wanted to open that checkbook and they wanted to go that route. But again, does AEW need more people right now? No, AEW's roster is loaded. It doesn't need more people.
You can make the case it's too many people, John.
Yeah,
you could. I don't know what Samoa Joe's financial situation is, but I think a way that Samoa Joe could really contribute to the pro wrestling scene would be for him to go back to Ring of Honor, and for him to help elevate Ring of Honor and have some great matches with some of those talent, because there are a lot of great talent right now in Ring of Honor. Tony Deppen, Roosh, all these people that he could go and have great matches with. And I think he would be very, very helpful in that sense.
What about Chelsea Green?
Yeah, Chelsea Green is someone who can contribute wherever she goes to. She's very talented. That's someone that I would say AEW could really use to bolster the woman division. She could always go back to Impact and be a player there. But I think AEW would be good for her. And I think she has a great indie run in her too if she wants to do that. And she would do very well on the independent scene.
Really quick before Alex goes, I just thought it was so weird because, to me, Peyton Royce was somebody that I felt was starting to really develop much better on weekly television. Her mics, that promo she did on the Raw Talk show was incredible. I mean, it really was an incredible promo that she did. And she had her best match of her life, I think, against Asuka. And then obviously we said they just cut her. I think she'll end up in AEW because her husband is there with Sean Spears. And you can always add more women talent, I think, to the roster. I don't think it can hurt. But it was just weird to see some of these names. But you didn't see names like Aleister Black and those guys get released. So and I'm going to let Alex go after. I just wanted to guess it was in my head. Why were those guys, you think, not like? Why was Aleister Black not cut? He's uber talented, Black. Why is he not utilized?
I mean, I don't want to speculate as to why someone wasn't cut versus why someone was cut.
You might say his wife, though.
I mean, again, I'm not going to speculate. I don't think that's my jurisdiction to speculate. I think based on what we've been hearing, I think it was PW Insider who reported it, that they're in the process of bringing Aleister Black back, and maybe he's a top babyface on SmackDown that you could roll with too, and I think that would be great. But I don't particularly feel comfortable speculating why someone was or wasn't cut. I think at the end of the day, if you're one of the talent that was cut, you try to look at it as a new beginning and see how you can reinvent yourself. And look what Drew McIntyre was able to do after being cut. And there's a lot of people who have had very successful careers after doing it.
Should we include Jinder Mahal in that conversation?
Look, again, I'm not one to speculate as to why someone's there versus why someone isn't. Yeah. It's just, I think that you have to make the most of the opportunities that you're given. And some of these talent tried really hard in WWE. It didn't work. And now they have a chance to go do it on their own merit.
Like Cody did. I was going to go in a second, but it just felt weird with Jinder Mahal because he was the champion for a couple months. I was like, he's just not on television anymore. I just thought that was just. I know what they were trying to do. Obviously, with the India fan base, I understood what they were trying to do. It just the whole booking just felt odd. You know what I'm saying? Like it just was. He's champion for 6 months. He's being Randy Orton he's just gone. It just felt very weird. But Alex, I'll let you go before we let John go.
So you brought up Samoa Joe a few minutes ago. What are your thoughts on WWE releasing him? Do you think he should have had one more chance in an in-ring run? And do you think it should have been like maybe in a title spot? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, why or why not do you think he should have had that run?
Well, again, we don't know if he was cleared physically or not, so it's hard to say on that front what they should or shouldn't have done. I think any of us would agree that Samoa Joe is a valuable asset in a lot of different ways. And I talked about this
Absolutely.
on LinkedIn, which dropped up today on Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. But Samoa Joe is someone who can contribute in a variety of ways, whether it was as a commentator as he was, whether it would be as a mouthpiece, whether it would be as a coach. I think those things all together show what Samoa Joe's value was, whether it was in-ring or not. So I was surprised, and I'm pretty curious to see what he does because he's got a lot more in the tank, whether it's in the ring or not. And I think he can be a very valuable commodity for anybody that brings him in a multitude of ways.
I absolutely agree. I liked him on commentary. I thought he was great on commentary because he brought a different aspect into
realism.
Commentary. The realism, yeah. He brought in just a different variety of things when he was on the mic next to Michael Cole, and it added more fuel to the flame.
Yeah, and he's a very talented individual who I have no doubt will find a way to be successful with whatever his next endeavor is.
John, we want to thank you so much for joining us this evening, man. We really appreciate it. Again, we know how busy you are. Let the fans know, of course, how they can reach you on. I don't know if you want them to with Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that. You gotta give it out to the fans and everything like that for sure. And again, we don't want you to be a stranger on the show either. We'd love to have you back, especially when we have our 1 year show coming up in the next few months. So we'd love to get you back on at that time as well to get you. We're gonna have so many guests. We have so many hosts, guests, people coming on that are going to join us, and we'd love for you to join that show. How can the fans reach you out on social media?
Sure. Well, first off, I appreciate all that, and congratulations to you guys on approaching a year. I know how hard that is. My podcast has been going for 6 years, and I know how hard it's been just to get to that. So 1 year is very difficult, believe me. I don't have a Reddit account anymore. I deleted that one. But on Twitter, you can find me. You can find me on Twitter at John Alba, JONALBA, because H's are for losers, and we don't need any of that. You can find Living the Gimmick at the LTG Podcast on Twitter or wherever you get your podcasts. It's a fun, long-form show that myself, Doug McDonald, and Josh Eisenberg, formerly of Chairshot Reality, goes through every single week, every single Tuesday. We drop that for you guys on wherever you get your podcasts. And you can check out some of my indie work, too. My primary home promotion is Limitless Wrestling, which I believe is one of the top promotions in all of North America. and I'm very proud to work with them. So those are just some of the places you can find me. And on Facebook, John Alba, multimedia journalist.
Spectrum 360 sports host, Emmy Award winning, and the host of Living the Gimmick, John Alba. John, thank you so much for this evening, man. We appreciate it. Like I said, I will be reaching out to you, of course. We'd love to have you on that anniversary show with us to, catch up and, see where everything goes and unfolds. And good luck with everything the rest of the way, man. You're killing it out there. So keep doing what you're doing, man. Stay safe as well, and to you and your family as well, all right?
Thank you. Likewise, guys. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Have a good night, man.
Have a good night.
Alba, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only. And, I know we're going to go to break in a minute. A lot to digest, that's for sure. What stood out to you the most, Alex, in regards to what John said?
What he said about the talent, when I brought up talent, and that really struck a mark with me because I've never heard it in that particular way before. I've never heard it described that way before, and he was right on point with that. It was pretty interesting, and I also loved how he touched on that how WWE compared to their ratings now from a couple years ago, how they're trying to improve.
Yeah, I thought that he made some very good insights on what is currently wrong with the main roster, which a lot of us see, and he pinpointed it pretty perfectly on what's wrong with Raw, and what they should really need to do. And it's going to be interesting what they do in the future, because they're going to have fans back fall, late summer. I'm basing that off of what AEW is projecting to do with them, and I assume WWE would follow suit. Who is going to be breaking out with that live crowd? Because that matters. If you have a live crowd, and you can sometimes get over easier, and that could also help Raw get a baby face.
Absolutely.
Josh,
I got to ask you, what did you think about him? About his comparison with how talent is built around, like his description on that.
Well, I think he said it perfectly. It's all about proper booking, right?
Absolutely.
That's what it comes down to. And I know we complain about certain situations and
It's
everything.
just
And by the way, the
proper
fancy
build-up.
203-903-8271. It's 203-903-8271. The fans can chime in and call as well. I didn't have the Facebook page open while John was speaking, so I should have had that on. I was listening to everything you said. I was just taking Arrow had to talk to me for a second. Our CEO here at the network had to talk to me for a second. But he talks about the proper booking and the proper style that it has. And there's a reason why they do what they do. Do we like it all the time? No. But that's the thing. And we need to understand that they're doing this to keep characters afloat. They're keeping They're
trying to keep superstars afloat. They're trying to make them look good and keep their momentum strong so that they're not easily written off TV.
That's exactly it. And you look at it in this perspective, and I agreed with him on the whole fan base perspective. If you don't like WWE, don't watch WWE. If you don't like AEW, don't watch AEW. Who cares? I'll tell you this. Alex, you know this about me, but Lau knows this about me a lot more. I watch WWE. I watch New Japan. I watch Ring of Honor. I'm with ROH membership.
You gotta share that with me. I share my New Japan one with you. Come on.
I already stopped it. I stopped it. I found a different way to find out how to watch it, so I can't really spare. I'll spare it with you off the air, not on the air. I watch Impact. I watch New Japan. I watch NXT. I watch every single platform, and I don't want to think. I'm not throwing Lyle under the bus. Lyle used to say to me, he goes, "I can't watch WWE. It's a pain in the ass. It's terrible to watch. It's like
I can't watch the main roster. It's very difficult."
But you know what though? The reason why I watch it is because I like to get different perspectives on what I'm watching and what I'm talking about. So that way I could see it on the screen, and I could see it is what they're doing, and I want to know, what is everybody complaining about? Now I see why they're complaining about it. That's why, listen, Can I sit through the full 3 hours? There's times when I change the channel. Of course there is. Everybody does. But I watch it because I like to get a different perspective of why does everybody hate Raw so much? Why does everybody hate SmackDown so much? Why does everybody hate Dynamite so much? Why does everybody hate Impact so much? I want to get a perspective on every single show and see what it is that there are positives, because there's always going to be, whether there's a bunch of negatives, there's going to be some semblance of positives. There always is. There's always will be. It's a 3-hour show. There will be some sort of it. And I like to get a certain vision of what it is that everybody is talking about before I start arguing with something. Because when I argue something with somebody, I like to back up what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not watching it, I can't argue it because I'm not watching it. So if I'm not watching it, I can't argue it. So that's why I watch what I watch. That's why I live and breathe wrestling. Well, I do the Sports Loudmouth with Arrow and Speedy. Speedy, if you want to check it out, Speedy, you know this. When Arrow first met me, if Speedy ever wants to get on the screen, when Speedy, you know this, and Arrow's probably told us. See, the first time Arrow met me, he thought I was just a big wrestling fanatic. He had no idea what a huge sports fan I am. At the same time, I am a wrestling fanatic. I watch all different platforms. Speedy, is that not true? That's what Arrow thought?
Very much so. I remember
that.
It
is. He thought I was just a straight wrestling fan. No other sports.
But before we do go to commercial, there was one question I didn't ask John, but he touched on it a little bit when he hinted at that WWE doesn't really need fresh faces. They just need like a better caliber superstar. They need somebody with a better build-up. And one of those people that I was going to mention was Adam Cole. Like, are they going to move him up to the main roster soon?
Well, I look at it even this way. You could say Adam Cole. Why?
Adam Cole could go up against Bobby Lashley. That could be a next.
I mean, of
here's
course.
the thing, though. You have Vince, who would definitely not put him up there right away.
You have to do it over time.
He would do that over time. He would do it slowly. It would piss everybody off because, he's Adam Cole. He should be at the top, and that would be the next thing to complain about. I think Adam Cole is one of the best in the world today, but he goes to the main roster, which like what they used to call Yankee Stadium, Death Valley. Main roster is Death Valley for good wrestlers. It is, because you go up there and you lose all your momentum, and then that's it.
Yep.
And before we go to break, we're going to go to break after the point I make. You talk about Adam Cole, Alex. There's already guys on the. Why can't a guy like Cesaro, who's so over right now,
absolutely
with the crowd, be a guy that is used as a challenger? And I think he is going to be the next challenger for Roman Reigns. I agree with John's perspective. The only thing I didn't really necessarily agree with was the part there. I think there's kind of somewhat enough faces to get Roman by in the due time on SmackDown. On Raw, there
not
is
so much.
Nobody.
Yeah, nobody on Raw.
Yeah. I would love for them to put Owens on Raw the next time they do a shakeup and let him just be him. He's a guy who's, like you said, he's another guy who's very over right now on SmackDown. And they need somebody like that on Raw. I think he would be the perfect guy.
Absolutely.
Put Owens on there, let him have that spotlight, and I think that's a guy who would shine and keep getting bigger over there. Because I'm a huge, I say it all the time, I love Kevin Steen.
There is one topic I do want to discuss, and
sir. What is that topic you want?
I've talked to Josh briefly about it before the show, and the rumor was that Batista was going to make a wrestling return, and he actually denied that and coded that out. So
good.
So how do we feel about Ryback? He had his poll up there asking where the fans thought he should go, and he was a genius and put retire on there. And overwhelmingly, it was retire was the winner of the poll. Like, can we all agree that finally all of wrestling Twitter agreed with one thing? Ryback should retire.
Yes, beyond retired.
We don't want to see him anymore.
No, and he's probably going to come on our show now and talk crap to us. And
hey, if he wants to come on, Come on, you're more than welcome right back. I don't know if I can legally say that with you not owning your own name. But yeah, if you're upset that we said you should retire, come on.
So really quick before we, because before the 9 o'clock hour, what were we going to touch on now, guys? We were going to touch base on what, Alex?
So we still have some WWE discussion, and okay. I do have one in mind. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but a couple days ago it was announced that Pat McAfee is the new commentator for SmackDown. And I just wanted to get everybody's thoughts on that.
It should have been
I absolutely love it. It adds a new window to WWE's main roster. It gives us another perspective. And it's very interesting because not only was Pat McAfee a competitor on NXT, now he's somebody who can take all that knowledge from what he's learned that he trained through to be on TakeOver and use that on commentary.
I love it. First off, I think he adds a certain pizzazz to the commentary table. It's kind of like, when you think about it, what NXT also did, adding Stu Bennett, it's a different perspective, kind of like what John called it, like when Samoa Joe was on Raw. I thought Samoa Joe was awesome on Raw. I loved Joe on Raw.
I did too. I thought he was great.
And, he adds a certain perspective. Pat McAfee, if you've never seen his show, it's funny. His show is hysterical.
Yeah, he's a funny dude.
Oh, dude, I laugh. Like when he starts standing up and he starts like standing up. He's like, "All right, guys, here we go. We're gonna go through the wall here. Okay, we're gonna bite some kneecaps off. Right? What's his name? The Lions coach said we're gonna bite some kneecap. I play for that guy.
Hold on. What happened to your body? Stand up again. I think you have a hole in your shirt.
I don't have any hole in my shirt.
Stand up.
What are you talking about? Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool. That is awesome, actually. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I do love this shirt, though.
It's a great shirt.
Oh, I love
what color? Is it green behind him?
Yes.
That's exactly why it's doing it.
Well, the good thing is, the beauty is I have a green screen, and we're still waiting on 2 others on the show to get a green screen.
Yeah, mine got lost in the mail. I don't know when it got
lost in the mail, or did it get lost in not ordering it yet?
Well, maybe.
But
okay, back to sorry.
Back to Pat McAfee. I think it adds an element to. It's so different because the thing is now everybody's going to get a chance to see how funny and how comedic and how hysterical he is. That's the thing, right? I mean, we look at it in that way. We just think of McAfee. We think of the thing he done on NXT with the match with Adam Cole, and which, by the way, had a great performance.
And I think he'll definitely bring in his heel perspective on commentary eventually, calling all the fans losers and schmuck.
He had Michael Cole laughing the whole show. You see Michael Cole when the first thing McAfee said, Cole couldn't stop laughing. He said, "This is so different. This is so different from Michael Cole."
I gotta say though, and Alex, you're definitely going to agree with me. If they were going to bring in anybody to be the color commentator for Michael Cole, it should have been Logan Paul. I would have loved to see that. I know Alex would have.
Alex, did you hear I reached out to him?
No. You're thinking of the other one. His brother.
It doesn't matter. I reached out to a Paul. He doesn't care which one it is, Logan or Jake.
I don't like either of them. If they fell off, if they fell off the earth, I would be happy.
Well, listen to this. I reached out to him. He wants to come on. He wants to.
Oh, this is gonna be great. Let's go,
Alex. He wants to fight you. Jake
it's
Paul
okay. He can only win a fixed fight. He can only win a fixed fight.
Look at Alex. That mood changed real quick.
That's true. KSI could shut him up.
Yeah,
KSI could definitely beat him.
Jake Paul. He said to me. He told me. First off, he said this Alex Slows kid, whoever this scumbucket is. All right, I'm going to kick his ass, and then when I'm done with him, all right, I'm going to take him to his Publix cashier register through the checkout line, drive him through that, and whoop, kick his ass, and then I'm going to tell him that his mom owes me money from last night. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to say, right, Alex? That's what he told me.
Yeah, and you know what? I would pay good money to see that. I have not watched one trailer fight yet, but that would be something to watch.
Put him up against KSI and make it a
No.
Hollywood.
No. I want him. I want Paul versus Slows.
That's right. That's what he wants.
That's what I want.
Alex, come on, Alex. You go to the gym all the time. I see your videos.
No thanks.
Come on.
Pump that iron, boy.
Alex, he's challenging you, man. He wants to talk to you. Look at his face.
I don't believe any of that. Show me the message. Show me the message, and then I'll believe it.
I'll send you the message. All right, I'll send it to you. I'll send it through.
He's gonna send it. Yep, and we're gonna have him on, and he's gonna jump through the computer into your living room.
That sounds wonderful.
And he's gonna knock you out with one phantom punch.
Is he gonna start fucking teabagging me? Does he have a bamboo stick up his you know what?
Yeah.
Boy, you just said fucking teabag me, but now you don't want to say ass. You said you know what? That's where you draw the line. Not fucking teabag, but ass.
We heard the F-bomb, and no more of the F-bomb. Come on, let's keep it professional here.
Yeah, no more F-bomb.
All right, so but we're kidding, but look. I think Pat McAfee is going to be comedic. I think he's going to be funny. I think he's going to add an element, and he's a name. He's a name in the media industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at it this way: if they think this is what's going to draw to SmackDown more, again, because they're on a national, they're on a national cable network, right? Most people that don't even have cable will have Fox. That's just they usually have Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS. Those are the main channels you usually get if you don't have cable. So they're trying to add a name, and they moved Corey Graves over to Raw, essentially with Byron Saxton.
The only thing I don't like that WWE has done with commentary is they've completely moved Tom Phillips down to 205
Yeah, he was good. I liked him.
I love Tom Phillips. I
have no problem with Tom Phillips being on SmackDown. Like, he was great. He added so many layers
over
to
whoever the hell that guy was.
Ooh, which one?
The guy on Raw right now. Oh, my God.
Yeah, no.
The other guy that Alex likes?
No,
Alex's best friend. You know what? That's it. We're going to do it. Jake Paul and this other dude who's on Raw, the new guy whose name starts with a V, that's going to be the new Raw commentary team.
This is all for comedic purposes. I know that.
No, it's not. Comedic purposes.
Yeah, it is.
Alex, do the impersonation of the guy.
Adnan Virk?
Yeah, do it. Come on.
Why does he sound like that? Like he's underwater? Does he have goggles pressed to his face underwater? Yeah, that's literally what he sounds like. It's terrible. It's trash. It's garbage.
The first time I played that for Arrow goes to me and goes, "What the hell was that?"
And my dad actually agreed with me. He's like, "Yeah, he has
he's terrible.
He has no knowledge of the sport."
No, but it's not even about the knowledge of the sport. The way his voice sounds nasally and stuff like that, it doesn't fit.
What's wrong with nasally voices, huh?
Well, for one, you have one, so there's already the first problem.
Yeah.
He's silent. He's just got the yeah.
Sound like Luke Harper there.
But
yes, that was the point, Alex. Very good.
Oh my God. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm leaving at 9:00, and I'm leaving these two in charge. It's crazy.
It's gonna be great.
Might as well have it's like the blind leading the blind. That's what I look at it as.
It'll be interesting though, because we still have a lot to cover: AEW, MLW, NXT.
Oh, and then we're gonna have after 9:30, we're gonna have a special pushfire job where we're gonna have the names out of the hat. Who we're gonna randomize them and pick a name, and where we think they're going to end up and why. And I think we're actually going to be able to get through all of them because we have a lot of time for that, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
And then a special finishing move from me.
Oh,
because I got a lot to talk about
special.
WXW. So I can't wait to talk to you guys about that and tell everybody how that went, because it was great. And shout out to Alpha, shout out to Daniel Mac Shaw for inviting me out again. That was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot from everybody there.
Well, that's awesome. I'm just trying to get. I'm trying to get on the Facebook page so I can see if anybody's. Let's see.
Comments.
Yeah, I'm ready. So, Paul Keezy said, "Mr. Alba, nice to hear you. I'm curious on your opinions on this year's WrestleMania." So we got to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, look, John gave us a lot of good insight.
Yeah, he did.
He was very honest. He doesn't like, and he has journalistic integrity. He doesn't like to speculate things. He doesn't like to make things rumored. Kind of like when we had Raj Jerry on. He was the same way. He didn't like to speculate things at all. I should have asked John, because they had a Twitter back and forth, Raj and John. I can't remember what it was. It feels like so long ago, but it was something that went back. I should get them both on the show at the same time and just have like a wrestling trivia.
Don't tell them though. Just pop on, surprise them.
Great, that would be I mean, we have a lot of guests that are going to be coming on that show. We have so many people that want to come on with us. That has
get Leo Rush back.
What?
Gonna get Leo Rush back.
I'm gonna talk to Leo Rush. We're gonna, I could talk to.
Hold on, we gotta get Lance Archer back on. I know that he wants to do it from what he told me. It's gonna be difficult.
Gotta go through AEW.
It is.
You can do it. You got this.
I'm trying. I mean, look at it this way. We have John Alba wants to be back on. Raj Jerry wants to be back on. Kevin Castle wants to be back on. John Alba wants to be back on.
You said him twice.
I did say him twice. Who's the one we had on? Who's the one we had on that one time?
Bill?
John Draper.
John Draper. He wants to come back on. Oh, we got to get Phil back on.
Yeah, we do.
Oh my God! I mean, dude, Phil's been an annual on our show. Even before Lyle got here, Phil was an annual on our show. We'll get Arrow on too. Arrow will come on.
Oh God!
Trust me, he says the same thing.
Arrow has to come off for the
Lyle. He says the same thing when he sees you. He says, God, I got to talk to this guy now.
You should feel lucky to talk to me. Okay?
Yeah, you sure?
You sure about that?
All right. Well, I look at it this way. Maybe Speedy could chime in a little bit on who he likes as a wrestler. Maybe it was the Ultimate Warrior, because that just got him so excited this morning to get up.
By the way, before we go and before Josh leaves, I would like to remind everybody listening that Hulk Hogan is not the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Well, I look at it this way. I had that on the weekend crunch with him a few months back. You'll hear his points when he comes on. Maybe he'll come on tonight with us.
Dun, dun, dun.
You don't know.
Who?
Errol.
Tell him to come on from 9 to 9:30. We're losing a vital member.
Wait, what?
Look at it this way. Errol does add a lot of content, whether he knows the product or not with wrestling. He adds content, so. Because all he has to do is bring up Hulk Hogan's name, and Lyle flips out, and Alex gets a boner. So that's the other thing. So it's exciting. So, I mean, look at it in that perspective. It's very simple to get certain people excited for certain things. So, as they say in the wrestling business, you get a reaction. Well, they're both going to get a reaction from Lyle and Alex if Errol decides to come on. If Speedy wants to send him the stream. But so we're going to go to break. When we come back, again, I will not be here till 9:30. Lyle and Alex will be leading the train at this point. I will be back on at 9:30.
We got this.
And we will do Push Fire Job. When these guys come back, they're going to discuss a lot of AEW. They're going to discuss MLW. They'll discuss NXT. And again, at 9:30, we're going to do some Push Fire Job. When I come back, there's a lot of big names that are available on the market. Where do we think they're going to end up? What'd you say, Speedy? I saw his thing talking, but nothing happened. But anyway.
That's why I call him Slowly Speedy.
Okay.
Slowly Petey. Slowly Petey.
You don't even know the name you are giving him.
No, he's Slowy Petey.
Oh man! So when we come back, these two are going to lead it, and I will be back on at 9:30 with these guys. Until then, we'll be right back. This is Off the Mat on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We'll be right back.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
¡No! ¡Y
Everybody's got a rise.
The champ is here!
Now welcome back to Off the Mat with Alex Slows, Josh Silverberg, and Lyle Gillen.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in our third hour of Off the Mat. I'm Alex Slows with Lyle Gillen here, and Josh will be back at 9:30. But now it's time to get into AEW. But before we do that, if you want to call into the show, the number is 203-903-8271. That's 203-903-8271. Feel free to call in and join the discussion on our topics and let us know what you think and what your thoughts are. Also, follow me on Twitter at ShowSlows. Follow Lyle on Twitter at LyleOTM. And follow Josh Silverberg on Twitter at Josh Silverberg. Also follow Off the Mat at Off the Mat WWSRN. And we also have a website, Off the Mat, Google website, which you can check out. That link is in our Twitter bio. And now, Lyle, it's time to get into AEW. So AEW was pretty strong this week. We saw Mike Tyson came back, and he joined an alliance with the Inner Circle. And that was pretty interesting to see because if you remember, like a year ago, Mike Tyson and Chris Jericho were in a feud. They did not like each other. They were in a personal fight. They had a personal vendetta against each other. And all of that turned around for Chris Jericho. And you notice that MJF was trying to pay off Mike Tyson to join with the Pinnacle and stab Chris Jericho in the back. But Mike Tyson was smart. He said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to call this match right down the middle. I'm going to make sure this thing works on everybody's side, not just my side, not just Chris Jericho's side, and definitely not the Pinnacle side either. So I just want to get your thoughts on that. What did you think about that story this week?
I think the entire thing is a swerve. I think that what's going to happen is it's going to be like the DX angle. And he's going to turn on Jericho, but to the Pinnacle. That's what I think is going to end up happening. And I don't know. I just don't expect it to be Tyson stays there. I don't see much of a payoff for that. If that's how they do it at the end, then
Tyson is going to pull a stunt on Jericho in the Inner Circle.
What was that?
You're saying Tyson's going to pull a stunt on Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle?
Yep, 100%. I think that he turns on them because then you think about it, that's over, and he leaves, and now the Pinnacle has heat because of that whole entire thing. I think that's exactly how it's going to end up, and they're trying to make the Pinnacle their big top heel group, and the best way to do that is giving them a crap ton of heat.
Absolutely. That's the best way to get the Pinnacle attention and really fuel the rivalry between the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle. But also this week we had Jade Cargill come back on AEW and face Red Velvet. What did you think about this match? Because I thought the match was 5 stars. It was a very physical, intense match. There was a lot of takedowns to the mat. I could see that Red Velvet is trying to use all of her reflexes on the mat and her use every mat skill that she knows imaginable. But Jade Cargill was smart. She scouted Red Velvet and she outmaneuvered her and won that match. So it was a great match to me, and definitely I could give this match a B+, somewhere right in the middle.
What if it was in a Tokyo Dome? What would you give it?
Tokyo Dome, probably B-, because it
whoa! It gets worse than Tokyo Dome.
Not worse than Tokyo. It would be better, A+ because it is the Tokyo.
Okay,
Dome.
there we go.
And then the next match after that, we had Anthony Ogogo versus Cole Carter, which we know that was a squash match, and that was all to put over the QT Marshall and his new group, the Nightmare Factory.
Well, a lot of people are complaining. You have it, QT Marshall. Oh, they're pushing Jobber. He shouldn't be getting this. Blah blah blah. But every single faction is intended to put over one guy. Mm-hmm. Now, the Nation of Domination was intended to put over Farouk, but what happened with it? It ended up putting over The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that the factory was intended to put over QT Marshall. I don't think that was ever the case. I think that the factory is 100% intentionally trying to put over Anthony Ogogo. They are billing him as a legit athlete. They're billing him really well, much stronger than they have built a lot of other guys who have come in. It's very clear to me that he's going to be the guy. And that's what people are always complaining, how AEW has too many factions. There are too many groups, too many of this, blah, blah, blah. But what is every single faction intended to do?
They put over people. That's their job. That's what factions are for.
They're a new company. They really don't have these other talents that have to get put over. Now, you look at what they are doing with Team Taz. Now, they're putting over Will Hobbs, Ricky Starks, and they're going to end up putting over Hook. Then you look at the factory. Nick Camasaro, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I'm probably butchering it. I'm sorry, Nick. But he's another guy. He has a great look. He looks like a beast. They can make him to be so powerful. I would love to see where they go with that.
But you're right. I think adding more factions to AEW is going to make the program more interesting, and it stands out more when you have different factions and not just singles matches every night.
Now, Alex, what do you? Now, the guys who start the company, they come from Japan. Kenny, the big guy's been all over Japan. That's very prominent in Japan. Having many different factions, the faction system, as they call it, is very prominent over there.
Yeah, you see it with Chaos. You see it with the Bullet Club. You see it with
in Noah and AJPW even over there. Those companies are. I think they're even bigger than New Japan with the faction style shows. I just think that it's not a formula that is traditionally seen here in America. You usually have the one big faction that is a heel group, but that's not what AEW is doing. They're
using every avenue they have. They're trying to go a different direction.
Exactly. And you look at all these people complaining, what are they used to seeing for the last 20 years?
The same thing, the same carbon copy.
The same formula from Vince. Mm-hmm. Because that's all that was able to really be seen. And Impact, they didn't really try and do anything really different except for the ring being 6 sides. Majority of that
the octagon ring, yeah.
Yeah, majority of that company was trying to have a wrestling company that was of the Vince McMahon / Eric Bischoff formula. Now you look at what AEW is doing; it's not that formula. It's taking that formula and it's trying to combine it with the Japan formula. And when I say Japan, I don't mean New Japan. I mean what many companies in New Japan do, which is a faction style shows. And they're putting that together. And I like it. It's different. It's not something we're used to seeing. And I don't understand why people hate it so much, because they're trying to put over more talent and build more stars. And that's what factions are intended to do. Absolutely. So I really enjoy that.
And then we also saw the Falls Count Anywhere for the TNT Championship. Darby Allin defended his TNT title against Matt Hardy. And this was probably one of the best main event matches we've had on AEW Dynamite in a while, because Matt Hardy comes from an extreme background with his brother Jeff, and so does Darby Allin. He comes from a skateboarding background, so he really brings a twist into his character with that. And we saw Darby Allin go back and forth with Matt Hardy in this matchup. Matt Hardy pulled out a ladder towards the end of the match, did his signature move from up there, and it definitely got people on their feet. There was just so much happening in this match, and it's definitely going to be memorable. And as Josh always says, everybody remembers the finish to the match. And the finish to this match was Darby went off above the announcer's table and dove off that end and took out Matt Hardy to win the match.
I don't want to give Josh credit. Okay? We're not going to do that, Alex. I'll rat Josh out and I'll spoil it for him because he's not here and it's fun for me. He stole that quote from Vince McMahon. So,
which I did not know until you said it.
So now, anytime he says that, we can call him out and say, "No, it's you're stealing that from Vince McMahon, Josh," and he will totally get under his skin, and I will very much enjoy it because it's very entertaining.
But yeah, this match was pretty interesting.
Oh, it was great.
You saw Hardy's family come out and try to intervene in the matchup, and then Sting came out and prevented that to happen, prevented that from happening. And then I think we also saw towards the middle of the match, was it Lance Archer? I thought Lance Archer came out and kind of got in Sting's face, and Sting was shocked because Lance Archer said, "You want to see the real Lance Archer? Here I am. This is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna bring." And I think Sting was shocked to see that because he probably didn't think that Lance Archer had that capability.
You know, when I was reading the reaction of fans on Twitter after that match, and you look at what's going on in that match, it's not like they're just taking random guys and coming to the ring. If you don't watch the product, that's the image you would have seen. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to what John was saying, where the NXT fan base was coming in and looking in and getting out of curiosity. And out of the reaction of Twitter, I'm going to fully agree with him on that one. Because people were complaining that it was just chaotic and people were just coming out there. And if you were watching, every single person that was out there was advancing the storyline. Mm-hmm. It kept advancing something else that was going on.
They kept adding a new layer after layer.
Yep. And
region after region with that.
And if you look at, it goes back, and I think it's also partially of what Vince McMahon, or how he treats his general viewer. He treats them like they're stupid as can be. Because I'm not going to say that these people are stupid, but if they watched the product and they knew of the product, they would have been able to
understand it.
And I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they are watching the product. I don't want to automatically assume, oh no, you don't know what's going on because you're not watching. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, mm-hmm. And it's a shame because I think it was very obvious. I wish that other companies wouldn't treat fans stupid because I think that then it would make fans want to think about what's going on more. And I think that's one thing that goes on during an AEW show is you can see so many different things. And if you go back and watch at Full Gear after Kenny Omega beat, no, it was after the Bucks won the title. Kenny Omega came out and celebrated them. And then who do you see over at the entrance? Hangman coming out. He looks at his former friends, turns around, walks away. And mm-hmm. They didn't zoom in on it and make it a big deal. No. As I remember, I could be wrong. But as I remember, you saw him in the background coming out and looking over there. And then he left. Mm-hmm. So you can see it by paying attention. And that's what element that AEW does. They advance storylines right not in front of your face, but it's there on the screen.
They make it surprising. They try to throw you off of it. And they
they do that.
Take you on a journey with their promos and storylines.
They do a great job of telling stories, and this is something that I'll say SmackDown does better than Raw. They reward the viewer for paying attention to the show, and when they advance their storylines. And it's something that I think should be happening a lot more often.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great thing, because then it's going to make you want to watch more.
Mm-hmm. It's exactly. I love how AEW finishes their show. They don't just leave and finish. They leave a cliffhanger. They leave you questioning what's going to happen next. Alex, I like that style. I love that style.
I want to ask you a question about what you thought of the turn that the Young Bucks did on Jon Moxley, and based on, I want your initial reaction. Not knowing what happened now on Wednesday, what did you think of it then? And then did your viewpoint change after you saw it this Wednesday?
So to me, when I first saw it, I thought there's no way the Young Bucks are actually going to align themselves with Kenny Omega. There's just no way. They didn't throw up the signal when Kenny Omega asked them to. Instead, they did a group hug, and kind of trying to shy away from that. And then when all that went down, when we saw the Young Bucks turn, it surprised me. It caught me off guard because I had no idea they were going to go that direction. I originally thought that the Young Bucks were going to go their own way and still be the tag champions. And they are the tag champions, but I mean, go their own way in a story and see what they can do with that. But I think adding them to Kenny Omega and to the Good Brothers with Don Callis, I think it's good because we're seeing a new style of the Young Bucks we haven't seen before, and they hinted that this week on the show. We're seeing a more dark, aggressive, and more unforgiving Young Bucks than we've ever seen before.
I don't think it's going to be staying like this. I think that they are very much going to be swerving. I still believe that. I think it's going to be a big pop when they do turn and they show that they were never actually with
faking
them.
It all along.
Yup, I 100% believe that. I am convinced.
They were milking it.
You cannot convince me otherwise. I very much believe it. If they were real, they would have given them a 2-sweet. In my opinion, I believe that. But also, based on the Young Bucks, did you follow them on Twitter? Or, well, it's Matt Jackson who runs the Twitter account.
I saw the Being the Elite episode where they took their old uniforms and kind of tore them up and threw them in the trash.
Did you follow them on Twitter, though?
No.
If you don't, I would. Because what they have been doing with their new bio post has been very, very funny every single week. Every day. They do it a couple times a day sometimes. And it's very entertaining. They just change it, put outlandish things, and it's very funny. If you don't follow them, follow them. I think they are doing a great job with this heel stuff. The Young Bucks are natural heels. They did a great job in Japan, great job in the Indies, great job in Ring of Honor as heels.
Absolutely.
And I think showing everybody what they can do as heels is going to be great. And listen, I'm a big Young Bucks guy. I admit it. I want them to stay heels, but I just don't think they will. I think they will be swerving everybody. I like them better as heels. I think they're 10 times better as a heel.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. The way
absolutely.
Their gimmick, everything about them is built to be heels. But, yeah.
But now I do want to get into MLW Fusion real quick. This week we had the IWA Caribbean Heavyweight title match, and Richard Holiday went up against Gino Medina. And Gino had his first title defense, and he beat... Richard Holiday defeated Gino Medina, but this match was okay. It wasn't what I was expecting. When the match started, I thought Gino Medina was going to get most of the momentum, but it ended up being Richard Holiday going over in that match, which I didn't mind. I just felt like the match was too short. The timestamp here was 6 minutes and 34 seconds. To me, a championship match like that had to be at least 8 to 15 minutes long before ending it. It just felt too short. And then we had the MLW World Tag Team title match, Lost Parks, El Hado, LA Park, and Selena De Lorena defeating the Dirty Blondes, Leo Bryan and Michael Patrick of Aria Blake. Fun fact, I actually commentated an old match for the Dirty Blondes for Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling. So I know who these guys are, and they're very talented, and they're very good in-ring performers. They have what it takes. But I think MLW is just taking their time with the Dirty Blondes. I don't think they're ready to absolutely push them to the next level yet. But putting them against LA Park and Lost Parks, definitely shows a side of the in-ring capability that they have, and they showed that in this match against LA Park and his tag team. But Lost Parks ended up taking the victory and retaining the tag team titles. And then the final match was the MLW National Openweight title match. I talked about this, previewed it a little bit last week on the show, and I said that Mlmw kind of stole the title. He stole the title from Alexander Hammerstone and pretended to be the true National Openweight champion. And Hammerstone said, if you want to call yourself the real champion, first you got to go through me. You have to beat me, and then you can call yourself the true champion. So they had a title match this week, and match guide rating was 5.57. So that's a high rating for a title match like this. And Alexander Hammerstone defeated Mlmw for the victory. And we could tell Selena was not too happy about it. She was really upset about it because she was talking with El Jefe, but about trying to keep the momentum on Mlmw and make him look good and make Azteca Underground look good. And that ended up being a disappointment with her because when we saw during the show that a agent approached Selena de Lorena during an interview, and you saw the agent push the camera away, and we all we heard was Selena's talking in Spanish, so we don't really know who El Jefe is, and we still need to find that out. But overall, this was a good show. I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10 for AEW for MLW this week.
Now, speaking of MLW, they're moving to Vice.
Yes, they are moving.
They got a TV.
They got a new sign, and I'm very excited.
It's huge for them. Vice,
absolutely.
It's going to give them many new viewers and much bigger audience of, or how do I want to word this correctly because I just kind of said the same thing. They have a bigger potential for a bigger audience. Doesn't mean they're going to have a bigger audience, but they're on a channel that can give them a bigger audience and
that's what they chance. I feel like with YouTube and constant YouTube uploads, and it's just not enough build for viewers. It's not enough to get a national attention. You know, I think MLW needs more of that. They need to be on a bigger channel, and now they have that, and now they have the capability of doing that.
Yeah, I gotta say though, I think one guy who can definitely stand out by being on a network with more viewership is Hammerstone. I think he's so much charisma. He's so talented in the ring. He's a guy I would love to have on the show, have Josh work his little magic. But yeah, I think that is someone who can really become even more of a star. But I'm definitely going to be watching. I really didn't get in the habit of watching as much on YouTube. Probably more convenient that way. But yeah, I'm definitely going to watch on Vice. I have Vice on Fubo TV, and I definitely plan on watching. I think it's going to be a great show, and they do a great job. And I can't.
Yeah, they do an amazing job of storylines. And one more thing I forgot to mention about Alexander Hammerstone and his match. After the match, Kruger put out a promo towards Alexander Hammerstone saying he's not done, and Contra is not done with Alex Hammerstone. So there's another avenue they're going here. And I cannot wait to see what happens next Wednesday. It's going to be interesting, and because I'm wondering what Prince Kruger's going to do. I'm wondering what Contra's going to do. We'll find out. Maybe Alexander Hammerstone will team up with Injustice against Contra, because Injustice has had their battle against Contra for a while now. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But now we have NXT, and the show opened with Karrion Kross promising a lengthy title reign. And one person that comes to mind to me for the next person to challenge Karrion Kross for his title, there's actually three people that come to mind. There's Roderick Strong, Kushida, and then there's what's his name? He has the gloves, Dexter Lumis. So those three.
He's great.
Yeah,
he's a great character. He does a great job of the whole psychology of him in the ring. I like watching him. He's fascinating. I do think he kind of staled a little bit.
I think putting him with the way kind of draws away from his character in that storyline. That's because they're involving him too much with the way, and I think they need to shy away from that, and they have to go a different direction, and they have to do what they did with him a couple months ago when they put him up against Kushida. They should have stuck with that storyline. I don't know why they flipped it. I don't know why they changed it all of a sudden.
Okay, and we're going to end up going to a commercial break, and once we get back, we're going to be talking more NXT and doing our push-fire job. We're going to be talking about the release guys and seeing where we think they might go. It's going to be a very, very fun final half hour, so stay tuned.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
TikTok.
Are you ready?
Now welcome back to Off the Mat with Alex Slows, Josh Silverberg, and Lyle Gillen.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last half of the only wrestling show here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome to Off the Mat. I'm your host, Josh Silverberg. Of course, my other co-hosts, Alex Slows and Lyle Gillen, who really stepped up big the last half hour. Thank you so much, guys, for doing that. You did awesome. Really quick, how you download our app, it's quite simple. If you have an iPhone, you go to the Apple Store, you type in WWSRN. If you have an Android, you go to the Google Play Store, you type in Worldwide Sports. All of our content is free. The whole app is free, from articles to show schedules to show times to clips to episodes you might have missed or something you might have really liked. You can go back and rewatch it and re-listen to it. And if you're driving, you can always listen to the audio feed as well. That way you're safe while driving and you don't text and drive and everything of that sort. WorldwideSportsRadio.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope. You name it, we're on it. And we have our website as well. Alex, what is our website for the Off the Mat page?
So the Off the Mat website is in our Twitter bio. You can click on a link and it will take you directly to the Off the Mat website. We have a pay-per-view and show page. We have a contact page where you can contact us through our Gmails if you want to be on the show with us. We also have a special guest page and a new we have a special announcement page. So that page contains the Off the Mat anniversary poster and the first confirmed guests for the anniversary show. So I highly recommend checking all that out.
Who is the first guest? Do we have it confirmed?
Yes, Masha Slamovich.
Boom. Don't want to
She'll
miss
be
that.
coming on with us. I cannot wait to have her on because she's wrestled in Japan. She's been everywhere, man, and I can't wait to have her on and discuss all her Japan journey and how everything is going for her in her wrestling career.
Awesome. That's good stuff, Alex, for sure. We want to thank, of course, John Alba for joining us tonight. It was awesome having him on with his busy schedule and answering all of our questions and really giving us great insight to behind the scenes as well as what's going on in the wrestling world and everything of that sort. But now it's time to get to we usually like to call it a fun segment. It's kind of a disappointing segment.
We were in the middle of NXT.
What happened?
We're
talking some NXT.
We were in. Okay, so you guys can continue it then. I'm sorry about
that.
No.
You can go. You go. Give your opinion, Josh.
I want to get Josh's opinion on it too, because we saw the show open with Karrion Kross, and I discussed with Lyle before the break that I think there should be three people that should challenge Karrion Kross: Dexter Lumis, Roderick Strong, and Kushida. But the only problem is with Dexter Lumis, they keep putting him in angles with the way, and I think that's diminishing his character. I really think they need to shy away from that. And a couple months ago, they had him in a feud against Kushida, and I don't know why they just suddenly flipped the page on that. It doesn't make sense.
I thought the show as a whole was interesting. First off, Cross's promo was great.
It was.
And
it always was.
And the underlying thing that we're all, I think, we always talk about what Kross does. I don't know if you guys brought this up, but you can't miss the underlining detail of what Karrion Kross's character is, and that's Scarlett.
Mm-hmm.
Scarlett adds an element to his character that she's a manager or valet or however you want to call it, but she's different because she doesn't interfere with the matches. What she does is she gives motivational tactics. You see it on the outside. She does kind of crazy different things. She does all the prayers, and I don't know what language it is. She's very different. She's not generic. She's a very, I guess you could say, a very organic kind of way. She really adds to the element. And if you notice on all the T-shirts that it's not just Karrion's face on the shirts anymore. She is now on all the T-shirts as well. Mm-hmm. So they find her to be a very big part of his character. As far as who on the roster can challenge Kross, there's so many ways they can go.
Yeah, there's so many different ways they can do this, so many avenues they could go.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, and I heard some of the names you guys brought up. You brought up what? Kushida,
Roderick Strong, and
Roderick Strong. Well, Roderick Strong handed in his papers the other day, so my guess is he's probably getting called up to the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
That would be my guess.
That's a good point, actually. I never.
Another one. You guys, there were two you didn't mention. One is Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed is
definitely somebody that's up there right now.
He's big right now.
Bronson Reed is so over right now. You could see what he does in the ring, but he's also got the size and ability. And I like his accent. Being from, I believe he's from Australia, so I like
South Australia. Yep.
Yeah, so I like how he adds that sort of element where he's kind of standout-ish. I know Vince feels with accents and everything like that. Another one, you could say, is Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne is another one you could say that is a guy that definitely, I think, eventually will get that push as well for the championship run. Balor's going to be back. Another one I think is going to get a big push. I think this is where they strap the rocket to the moon for him, and that's Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly is getting
I think he deserves a run.
Kyle O'Reilly.
He should be first in line for the run.
Once he had that match with Cole, that was the rocket to the moon for him. That was done basically saying, okay, Adam's getting called up to the roster soon. It's time for you to step up, be what you were as a singles competitor, which we know what he can do. So those are the guys that really they stand out.
The one thing I don't understand is why would they suddenly flip Dexter Lumis over and put him in with the way when they were focusing on his rivalry with Kushida?
Lumis?
Yeah, because a couple months ago he had a couple matches against Kushida.
Well, Kushida just won the Cruiserweight Championship, so clearly, and look, be it what you will, the Cruiserweight Championship is completely different now that it's on NXT than when it was on 205 Live and that crap. All right, let's call it what it is. When Leo Rush held the championship, who was the one that just had it recently?
Santos Escobar.
Santos Escobar. They put up excellent, really 4-star caliber matches, So it's not like the Cruiserweight Championship is just a no-name championship anymore. it's a legitimate thing. Clearly, they're going to go the Ciampa. They're going with the Ciampa Thatcher tag team, which I like.
They called out MSK in their promo. I
like it. I'm intrigued by it. I think it's an interest. I think those two have great chemistry together. They work really well together. I think it's something. Look. Those are two guys that I think, especially Ciampa, can work with anything. It doesn't matter what you put in front of him. Tommaso Ciampa can make it work. That's as simple as that. I think he's gotten to that point with me where no matter what the rivalry is, we'll see. Another crazy one, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I would be curious if it ever did happen. Why not give Walter a shot? Why not give Walter a chance against Kross?
I think they would have a little match. I don't think they would have
unbelievable striking match. Probably the best striking match if they decided to book that match.
You were going to say something, Lyle?
Yeah, I don't think that if they did that match, I can picture it, but I don't think they would ever have Walter win. Unfortunately, because I think he should have an NXT title reign, but I think they're going to really try and keep him in UK.
Well, he's in NXT now. I mean,
Yeah, but he's also the NXT UK champion, so he's gonna have to go back to defend the title over there.
Of course, but you never. I mean, look at it this way: if they ever want to do a title versus title, and the two guys, they're very
Another
similar.
War of the Worlds.
You could. What'd you say?
They had the War of the Worlds takeover show last
The
year.
Worlds Collide.
Worlds Collide. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they could definitely do that and have them face off. That would be interesting.
And it's kind of interesting because I look back at the takeovers, and the one we don't really talk about much is the Worlds Collide show, and I thought that was
we don't solid show.
That tournament off.
It was a really good show. And to me, when I look, I mean, there's so many ways that they could go with this. Like I said Bronson Reed is a guy that could be first in line. Pete Dunne is another one that's going to be in line for this. And then I believe I said Kyle O'Reilly. Those are the three guys that I think of right away that are step of a finger. They're going to be the guys that I think challenge Cross for this. Balor's going to be back in the mix, so it'll definitely be interesting for sure. But I like the show.
Yes.
I love the Tuesday night.
I love the show. I got your thoughts on this.
Better
Josh,
for everybody.
I
And
have
what's
to
her
get
name
your
also?
opinion on this.
What's her name also debuted too?
Her name in WWE's Frankie Monette now.
I love her debut in Frankie Monette. So for those that don't know who Frankie Monette was, she was Ty Valkyrie in Impact.
Absolutely. I was going to get to that.
Yeah, she was tremendous in Impact. She was. Her and Gonzalez, if they let them fight and let them do their thing, magic.
That'd be a great match.
Absolute magic.
I
Absolutely
love
to the top of that.
I love Raquel Gonzalez.
Why can't they call her Ty Valkyrie? That's bull.
Probably
I think it's
trademarked.
trademarked by Impact. That
Probably
could be
trademarked by
the-
Impact.
Is it?
That's why.
Because I think she used that outside of Impact too.
Yeah, but the difference was when she was outside of Impact, she was probably doing like Lucha Underground and like more indie companies. Now that she's in a global company, that they might have just made it a little different. So I think it's just different standards on when they're working with different companies.
I think that it's more of WWE. They want to take certain guys, and if they don't like your name, they're going to change it. Not because of the fact that you already have a name built and they don't really like it. I think it's more of the fact that if they make you a star, they make more money off of it being their name, because then if you leave, they're not going to be looked at as the same person.
I get that. I understand that too.
They're protecting their company. I look at it, and I think if they want to make her a star. So if they make her a big star, and then one day she leaves, they're not giving someone a Hulk Hogan again. They're not giving someone this gigantic star right off the bat. They're going to have a different name, and there's going to be a lot of fans who might not recognize that name.
Kind of like what they did with Alex Zane. His name he was going to use his name in New Japan, and they said no, you can't use that. That's trademark too.
Well, one last thing before we get to our push fire job. Another interesting person that I could definitely see if he wants to go back to, and I mentioned it to John Alba, and I know John said that there's a rumor. I'm curious if Aleister Black decides to go back to NXT. And
he already did try and decide to go to NXT. They told him no.
He might have, but you know what? They let Finn Balor go. Maybe they changed their ways differently, though.
But was it because they let him go, or was it because, from what I remember hearing, was that it was planned to originally be short term, and then it ended up being long term?
Yeah.
Well, I think originally that was why they let him go down there.
I mean, look, I think I could see Triple H going up to Vince and saying, "Look, let us utilize him. Let us utilize him." Because I tell you this, if he had a match with Karrion Kross, Aleister Black and Karrion Kross with those two characters, money. That's money.
I agree.
Yeah.
Way money. I mean, it's something that I think that needs to be looked at. It needs to be thought about, and it needs to be talked about in the meetings. But what do we know? We're just show hosts. We know we don't. That's what we know. I mean, we don't know much. But let's get to our push fire job because we're running short.
All righty then.
Okay then. So Lyle, what is the first name? And it's not Alex Slows. What is the first name?
Okay, the first name I'm pulling out. Alex, can you give me a drum roll, please?
Sounds like you're specking your balls.
No.
Ooh, I got a good one. The first one.
I could.
AEW, and you cannot see it. I'll bring it up to the camera. Still can't see it.
No.
It says AEW.
Okay.
You can't see it though, because
Mhm.
I don't know why.
Why
But-
say AEW?
Huh? Because what we're gonna do is we're pulling out the companies and gonna say who you want to go there.
Ah!
That's what it
okay.
was.
I would say
Okay, I thought you were going to do the names. Okay, got it now.
okay.
Okay.
The Iconics.
Why?
I agree with you.
Because
Why?
they had so much star power when they were in the tag division with WWE, and they were tag champions when they were with WWE. What's to say they can't do that? in
You want to know the difference between what AEW does and what WWE does? AEW builds these stars off of what you can do in the ring.
Mhm.
WWE builds stars off of their character. There's a difference. They built
there
their
is a
stars
difference.
because they were funny. That's why they worked over there. I don't believe that they are good enough in the ring to really make it in AEW. I think they'll be exposed a lot. I don't want them there. I think they would fit much better elsewhere. I don't think Billie Kay is gonna really go anywhere for a while. I just don't. I'm not
Well,
high on her.
you could have Peyton Royce and put her in a single storyline in AEW.
I'm looking at the names that got released. Don't mind me.
You're fine. I would prefer her to not be in AEW. I think she would do much better at Impact. Just my gut, because she would be able to shine more, and she won't have
see that. Yeah.
and she won't have the big spotlight of AEW. Where I don't think she's the best in the ring. She's solid. She's not the best. I don't think she would be able to hang with Sheeta and
Or
Chris
Jade
Statlander.
Cargill.
Cargill. I don't think she's as good as the rest of the roster, in my opinion. In Impact, they don't have the big enough viewer where if she doesn't have the greatest match, she won't get called out on Twitter, and she can still be looked at as, hey, you're still overall doing well, but that's because 200,000 people are watching the show.
So I look at it as this, and I think Peyton Royce should be the one that goes to AEW. Billie Kay, I think Impact would be good for her.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Peyton Royce would fit perfectly because her career trajectory, when you think about it and you really dive deep into it, kind of reminds you a little bit of Britt Baker, where Britt Baker had some stuff that she had to work on before she got to AEW, but she got signed to AEW, and she's drastically improved in and out of the ring. Her mic skills are great.
The difference... You're right. Okay, go.
Hold on. Her mic work skills are great. She does really well in the ring now because she's worked her ass off to get where she's been. Because let's remember, when she was in the indies, a lot of people did complain about her. They said that her skills in the ring were a little eh. And I thought that too when she first got to AEW. They were very meh. They weren't great. To me, Peyton Royce, you give her the time to work. Her match with Asuka on Raw a few weeks ago was incredible.
Absolutely.
It was a great match.
It was
and that's what Peyton Royce was talking about in saying, give me an opportunity. Let me be the person that I know I can be. You've held me back. She put on a great match. So you give her the opportunity, she will, you mentioned Chris Statlander and Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa and
Jade Cargill.
Jade Cargill, well, Jade is a different breed. That's just a whole other animal with that. She could kick all three of our asses if it was a 3-on-1 handicap match.
I think she has phenomenal talent. She's going to go somewhere.
But it's I think Peyton Royce would fit in very nicely in that locker room. I like to see her
put her against
maybe a Britt Baker. I'd like to see her do something as a team together and go that route and see where that lands, because her and Britt Baker have kind of similar personalities when you look at it. And I think it would fit very well together.
As good I don't think she's as good on the mic. Okay, that's so hard to say.
But did you see her promo on Raw Talk?
I did, but I don't know.
That was a real promo.
Maybe it's because in WWE they script everything.
Yeah,
and in AEW it would be a little bit more natural. So maybe that's why. But I think she's the better of the two Iconics.
Oh, absolutely. But Billie Kay's funny, though.
She's funny, but I don't think that character would fit in.
No, it wouldn't fit in AEW, but I think Peyton Royce would fit in very nicely in AEW. I really think she would thrive in AEW, and I think if you let her be who she is, which was what she was on Raw Talk, where she did a complete shoot.
Yeah,
that
would be golden.
If you get that promo work that she gave you on that, it's going to work in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So the next one.
Yes.
Is Alex? Can I get a real drum roll?
Yeah, don't play with your balls this time. He sounds like a banging monkey.
So got the what are those drums called?
The bongos.
Bongos, yes. We got the bongos from the old Nintendo remote. The bongos. We have Ring of Honor.
Okay.
I will go first this time.
Okay, yeah, go.
I am gonna say. See, I'm stuck because I want to say Samoa Joe, but everyone's gonna say, "Oh, Samoa Joe." But
if we go over our time a little bit, it's okay. By the way, I don't think there's anything on after us.
I want to say Chelsea Green. She was in Ring of Honor beforehand. She did extremely well, and I think that she can go there and do a great job again. Preferably, I would say AEW, but I think Ring of Honor. I think she would do amazing there. I think they need more women too.
Thank you, Speedy.
I would say.
I mean, mine's easy.
Who on the list do we have that we haven't said?
I got one for you. If you want me to give you one, an easy one. It's Andrade.
Andrade definitely would be great.
Andrade.
Well, okay, yeah, I wasn't personally including him in this list because he happened earlier, but no, I forgot about him. You're right.
Yeah, he could go there or New Japan.
Absolutely.
He could work in LIJ in Ring of Honor. Okay. He could work in LIJ with Ring of Honor with Rouge, or he could work in LIJ with Naito.
Naito, yep.
I would love that. Okay, the next one. Dun, 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 dun. Speaking of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Okay. Nobody on this list that really stands out.
There is one
the only one I would say is Andrade.
There is one you could put in, but he would be good with in Chaos with Yano Toru. Bo Dallas.
Well, you know what's
maybe I'm strong because he was talented in
put him with Yano and Yano will carry him.
I will tell you this, Bo Dallas, to me, when you think of Bo Dallas, I look at Juice Robinson. Because Juice Robinson was forgetful in NXT. But Bo
was an NXT champion.
But Josh,
Bo Dallas, I think, I like Alex's idea. Bo Dallas would be great in New Japan because he has the same trajectory as Juice Robinson did.
Yeah, but
Juice Robinson was a no-name guy in NXT. He was a jobber.
But at the same time, he is comedic, so you could put him with Yano.
I say let him join Finlay and Juice. Let him do that.
So hold on. What would it be? Because Finlay is a son of Finlay, obviously. Then you have Bo Dallas, who is the son of IRS.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you say Bo Dallas could gimmick as? Because Finlay is like
it could be like a tough guy, like a fun tough guy, like what Juice is. Juice
a
is
combination of the two.
Yeah, because you look at it, Finlay's the tough one, Juice is the fun one, but they know when to get tough when the time. Like look at Juice when he had the rivalry with Moxley.
Yeah,
like he was fun, but he was able to kick ass in that match and be able to be a tough guy and get away from that character for a little bit. So. I think
there's a lot of things you could do with him. You could have him be comedic. You could do a lot with him.
Yeah, he's a guy that they just didn't. I don't know.
Vote on him. They dropped it.
I don't know. They didn't believe in him. I guess.
No.
They didn't believe.
No, they did not. All right. Is
okay.
that it?
No, I got a few more. We can keep going if you want. Okay, this is an interesting one. I have WWE. Who do you think that we got released could return to WWE, a la Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, Jinder Mahal, something like that?
Nobody
on that list.
Yeah.
I don't think so either.
Maybe Lars Sullivan, but I think he burned his bridges pretty good.
Yeah.
No.
You
no.
liked him in NXT at first.
Before everything came out, and I found out he was a living scumbag.
Don't sweep that under the rug there, pal.
No, I'm not. That was bad.
But now, Josh, it's time to get
let's get to our finishing move now. Alex is ready to go. Alex is ready to get going. He's ready to rush off. It's fine. We're having fun here. Alex is missing. He's like Buzz Killian from Family Guy. That's what he is. He's Sir Buzz Killian. So, you know. All right, Alex, since you're so eager to give us our finishing move, you're so dying to give it, go for it.
So my finishing move is I drove all the way up to Lake County, Florida.
How many hours is that from you?
That's an hour and 49. So it's almost 2 hours. So I drove up there to go to WXW, which is a promotion run by the legendary Alba, the Wild Samoan, 3-time WWF Tag Team Champion with Sika, and 2007 WWE Hall of Famer. So I was absolutely honored, and it was a privilege to be out there and to learn from Alpha and to learn from his students, and to also be under the wing of Daniel Max Shaw, who also had an opportunity to go out. He had an opportunity to go out to OVW in Ohio. So there's a lot that he could teach me, that he could provide to me and help me with, because he also does ring announcing too. So I got to see him do his ring announcing for all the matches at WXW. And after the show ended, I was standing, putting chairs away, helping the crew put the ring and stuff away. And I looked to my right, and I'm like, is that Davey Boy Smith Jr.? Is that Harry Smith? I had to be sure, so I walked up and asked somebody, and they're like, yeah, that's Harry. And I walked up to him, said hi to him, introduced myself, and the first thing he said was, what's your purpose? Like, what are you trying to get into? And I told him I want to be a wrestling broadcaster. I want to be a wrestling commentator. And for the past 3 years, I've been doing backstage stuff with promotions in Florida. And I'll never forget what he said, because it's stuck with me, and it's gonna stay with me for the rest of my career. He said, "Keep doing what you're doing, work hard, and stay motivated out there, and best of luck." And that was really cool, and something I'll never forget. And then also, I saw Alpha's daughter talking to Harry's wife or somebody that's with the Hart family, and I saw her pull out a small ring. I'm looking at it for a second. I only had a few seconds to see it, but it was the WWE Hall of Fame ring for the British Bulldog.
Which there are now reports, by the way, that they are in the works of making it a real Hall of Fame now.
They are?
I hope so.
Awesome.
I really hope they don't make it.
I really hope so.
They need to.
Yeah, because I was telling Alpha's daughter that. I was like, I said my co-host on the show, he told me that they're thinking about putting a WWE Hall of Fame in City Walk in Orlando.
Yeah, that is the truth, and they want to use the WrestleMania 38.
No, not 38. It was Orlando.
38.
It was Orlando.
What was it? 34? Was that
I think it was 28. I think it was 28.
No, the one with the Universal set. No, that wasn't 28. The one with the Universal Studio set, that wasn't 28. Because that was when Roman main evented Taker. Was it 30? Might have been 33.
Yeah.
But they used that set as the intro to the Hall of Fame. Because
That'd be pretty
it's
cool.
Universal.
That would be awesome.
I mean, that would be the second time they've tried doing this. So, but yeah, that's great stuff, man. Good stuff, Alec. That's awesome, dude. I'm glad you got something out of it, and that's the important thing for sure. And taking life lessons from pros, that's really what the key is.
Yeah.
Now, be a sponge. Take the knowledge and
soak it all in.
Soak it all up, man. That's what it comes down to. What's your finishing move, Lyle?
You go first.
Okay. Well, my finishing move is I want to thank John Alba for joining us tonight. It's that simple. That's one. And two, when we're done here, go check out NXT afterwards. I love that NXT is on Tuesday nights now and that AEW is on Wednesdays. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I think what it does is now there doesn't have to be a war that was never really a war. There doesn't have to be a war. I think, and John put it best, if you don't like something, don't watch it. Why do you have to be included in the cesspool and be a problem? If you don't like AEW, don't talk about it. If you don't like WWE, don't talk about it. Ignore it.
Absolutely.
And if you see people that are going to talk about it, Alex, okay. I was gonna say Alex had a great Frozen picture there for a second. It was like that was great. Don't be a part of. And even John said, those are the worst fans. Those are the worst fans.
Yeah.
If
If you don't like the program, don't watch it.
Something like me, like, do I like WWE's main roster right now?
No.
I would tweet about it, but I watch it.
If I'm watching it and it's bad, then I'll tweet about it.
I don't tweet. I don't tweet it. I watch it because
the one thing is I don't like when fans complain on Twitter to other people. That's the thing.
See, I agree with you. I don't like when fans complain on Twitter and they don't even watch the product.
Yeah, they don't watch the product.
If you're going to complain about WWE, then watch the product. Otherwise,
if you're going to complain about anything, watch the product.
Exactly. Otherwise, then there's nothing to say. There's nothing to say.
Majority of people who complain,
you don't have any facts to back it up. Mm-hmm. You didn't. Oh, Drew McIntyre had a bad promo.
There's a quote my dad always says: "The more you say, the less people will hear."
That's right. You're damn right. That's true. Because here's the fact. The fact of the matter is this: if Drew McIntyre had a bad promo, oh, what didn't you like about it? Oh, I don't know. I heard on Twitter it was bad. So you didn't watch it. You just heard it from somebody on Twitter. You heard it from a podcaster that it was bad. What do you know? You don't know. So then shut up.
You're saying someone else's name, not yours.
Yeah. That's mine.
For me, I was actually also going to talk about the ratings, but I completely lost my train of thought when you went on about the fans. Okay, so
when you go last,
save the best for last. That's what they say.
Here's
my opinion on the ratings. I think it's a great thing because now you have AEW building up to Blood and Guts, and then you have them building up to Double or Nothing, and I'm interested in what they're going to do between Double or Nothing and All Out. They're going to do something because they have June, July, and then August, so they'll probably have a big show in the middle on Dynamite. And right now, this is the time of year where they really get in their groove and really start having great shows week after week. And I'm really excited to see what they do and how the ratings work, because if they continue going up in the ratings, I think that they can, at the end of the year, be closer to 1.7 range. And I think that would be a good success for them. And I'm interested to see what happens when AEW starts getting on a roll and they have no competition, and Raw continues to be utter dog crap. What happens with the ratings there? Does that go down as people start watching more AEW? Now, they're really not competition because they're on different nights, and I never thought they were. So that entire making Raw and AEW a competition was stupid. It does not make sense. But, yeah, I'm really interested in seeing where AEW goes towards the end of the year.
All right, guys. Well, that's the end of our show for tonight. I want to thank John Alba again for taking the time.
Yes, thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
How you can listen to us and watch us, it's very simple. If you have an iPhone, you go to the Apple Store, you type in WWSRN. If you have an Android, you go to the Google Play Store, you type in Worldwide Sports. You click download or install. It's all free. The shows, the schedules, the articles. We have some good stuff going on there that you can check out. Any clips or any episodes you might have missed that you want to see or you want to hear, you want to read. It's all there at the tip of your fingers. It's all free. WorldwideSportsRadio.com as well. We are the only website out there that if you compare us to any other website, I don't care if it's ESPN, our website is truly one of a kind when you see it and you check it out. So be sure to check it out for sure. Don't forget to check out Sports Lab Maps with myself, Errol Marks, and Speedy Petey Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday show is 9 to 11. Thursdays is 9 to 12. And the Weekend Crunch, of course, with myself, Errol Marks, and the great and powerful tidy whitey man himself, Speedy Petey. I'm sure he loves that I said that. That's Errol's nickname for him. Which, by the way, he'll be doing some underwear autograph signings this week at the Comac Walmart. So if you go check it out, his mom will be there in attendance as well.
Who is?
Speedy.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be there.
Yeah, he's
I'll
going to
be the only one online.
He's going to have Sharpies in his hand. His mom's going to be handing out the pictures.
So here's the question. Who's going to be the better mom? Sue or Speedy Pete's mom?
Oh, Speedy Pete's mom's the best. What, are you kidding me? There's no competition. She's the best mom. She raised Speedy Petey. The man is the hardest working man in the business. Are you kidding me? So that's the answer. So no debate. Come on. Speedy is the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And that's a fact. And I'm not even BSing. That's a fact. He is. And I hope he knows that. But and we always want to, and of course we want to thank him, of course, for producing and helping us. As always, don't forget, like I said, check out those shows. Check out all the other shows. We'll be back Tuesday at 8:00 next week. There's so much going on. So enjoy NXT. After we're done, enjoy AEW, enjoy SmackDown, enjoy whatever you watch coming up in the next few weeks. Also, don't forget to check out ROH 500. They had a great show. Mark versus Jay Briscoe was one of the matches. I'm going to check that out, of course. Phenomenal stuff. For Lyle Gillen, for Alex Lowe's, this is Josh Silverberg, and, of course, the great Speedy P. Thank you so much for tuning and listening in to us every single Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m. right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Off the Mat. Kenny Omega, end it for us. What you got to say? Good night, everybody.
I must bid you adieu, so say with me now if you know it. Goodbye, and good night.
Thank you for listening to Off the Mat on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, your source for all things wrestling and sports entertainment. It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.